Welcome back to another session of Demo Mondays. Demo Mondays is a video series where we talk to different software creators for Amazon sellers, and we ask them to present their product just like this on the screen. And today my guest is RevenueWize. And RevenueWize is presented by On Manelson. Hello, On.
Hello, Augustus. Well, thank you for having me over during these challenging times.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. And so let's start from the beginning. What RevenueWize does and how do you help Amazon sellers?
Okay, so RevenueWize has been developed to simplify the Amazon PPC optimization process. Basically, it allows sellers to improve their ACoS performance while remaining in control and saving valuable time. This has been our #1 focus from day one. There's no reason that Amazon PPC optimization should be so complex and time consuming. And this has been our focus. When we talk about our solution, and what we emphasize is that it's very intuitive and easy to use. Basically, you can start using it immediately and achieve fast results. There's hardly any learning curve of learning how to use the solution and getting the benefits out of it. It's pretty immediate. Talking a little bit about our clients, I know that that's something that probably the audience wants to know, is that our clients range based from around $100,000 above in annual sales. Our sweet spot are intermediate to advanced sellers that are tired of battling the complexities of PPC, whether they're using some sort of third-party software or using spreadsheets. So basically, we, as part of our simplification, that is our focus. A few important things that I'll just mention is that the majority of our clients basically came to a conclusion that full automation does not work well for them. They need more flexibility, more control over their ad spend. Seva mentioned automation worked well in only 50% of the cases, and in another 50 it caused actual damage. And that was one of our focuses as well: provide full control to the seller. And I think that another important factor that I should mention is that our solution performs optimization recommendations based on the current seller's campaign structure. So it doesn't go wild and create new campaigns and ad groups and override the existing work. So once you start using our solution, you will see this is part of having full control. At the end of the day, it doesn't basically start running and creating all these automated processes, which you then have to figure out and ask yourself, hey, what exactly is happening? Why is this created or why is that created? And we know that it overrides work, and then you're stuck in your account with all sorts of campaign and ad group names, which you cannot get rid of in the future. In general, I'd also mention that everything in the system requires your approval. So at the end of the day, the seller has full control and knows exactly what's happening in the account. It's not that you can find yourself coming in, accessing the solution, asking yourself, hey, why did this happen? Why did that happen? There's a logic and an explanation of everything that's being occurring in the solution. And at the end of the day, it's the seller's responsibility, knowing his account the best way possible, to make the final decisions. Obviously, decisions, we'll see it can be made across the board in bulk, but at the end of the day, the control is in the seller's hands.
All right. So yeah, in the introduction, you kind of mentioned that your solution is perfect for intermediate, advanced, and I can imagine beginners, which have at least revenue of 100,000 per year.
Correct.
What marketplaces is covered?
So currently, right until this week, we're supporting US marketplace. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be adding support to Canada, the UK, Germany, and France. These are going to be probably within the next 2 weeks. We're going to support these as well. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, perfect. I think we're ready to see the demo of your software, to see how does it look inside, and let's jump into that.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen now. So this is the entry point. This is the account overview, basically, that we've just accessed. And the first thing that we can go ahead and notice is that we're looking at a breakdown of the ad spend by type. So when we talk about the analysis that our solution performs, it analyzes the ad spend and looks at the ad spend on different levels. So there are 3 layers of ad spend that the solution looks into. Ad spend in red is all the ad spend that has not generated any revenues. So red means that we're spending, in this case, around $250 a day of ad spend that is generating 0, that is not performing anything, has not generated anything. Orange represents ad spend that has generated sales, but those sales are above our target ACoS. So we define in the system a target ACoS, which is in line with our strategy on a product level. And basically then we can see whether we have achieved that target ACoS or not and how our ad spend is performing. Blue represents where we're below our target ACoS, meaning that either we're profitable in certain cases, or on the other hand, we're leaving money on the table because there's more opportunity and more spend for us to generate more sales. So when we look at the ad spend and when the system does this analysis, basically we can see overall how our dollars are being spent. If we're seeing mainly red, it means that we're spending a lot of dollars, but we're not getting results back. If we're seeing a lot of blue, it means that we're below our target ACoS and we need to continue optimizing and achieve more sales, and we might have more opportunity for more sales and more profit. And orange, again, represents where we can go ahead and optimize our bids and come down to a point where it's going to be more in line with our target ACoS. So we go ahead and we set that up, and we'll just skip that, but it's something that we basically configure. In addition, we have a sales versus spend graph where we can also see how our sales have been performing over spend over time. And we have a brief overview here of our general parameters that we want to look at: impressions, clicks, our click-through rate, orders. And currently we're looking at 30 days, but we can look at it across 14 days or 7 days, so we have that flexibility. So this gives us an initial view overall of our account performance. Below this is the actual analysis of the different segments. So the solution basically breaks down our activities into 3 main segments. The first segment is exact keyword analysis. So these are keywords basically that have generated clicks, and we can go ahead and analyze their specific performance. And we can see here a breakdown of keywords without sales, and we can see how much ad spend and how much keywords they were. Keywords above our target ACoS. And again, we can see what their ACoS has been and how much budget we've spent on them and how many sales they've generated. Keywords below the target ACoS. And then we have keywords below threshold. So the system allows you to set threshold saying keywords with a minimum of a certain amount of clicks or dollars spent, and keywords with no required action. Keywords with no required action means that these are keywords that we have already taken actions, whether we've adjusted bids or taken certain performance. So at this given moment, there's nothing for us to do, okay? Once we also look at the stats and figures, we can also see a pie chart here, which tells us how much of our ad spend has been already handled and what other areas we might want to go ahead and address related to their ad spend. Everything in the solution here now is being clicked, and we can go ahead and see the results themselves. So for example, I can see here that I have nearly $1,500 in ad spend related to 10 keywords, and I want to go ahead and view them. So I can go ahead and I can press view. And now basically we can see these keywords, and we can see a list of these keywords. We can see how much they've been off our target, basically, and this is how they're sorted. We can sort them in different ways. Everything is sortable. And what we do is we can expand information. Expanding information means we can see the campaign, the ad group, and the keyword that they're related to, the ASINs, and additional information that can help us make a decision. In this case, it's exact. We can see our current bid, the Amazon suggested bid, the bidding strategy, and the bidding adjustment that we currently have, our current advertising cost of sale, Next, purchase advertising cost of sale, which is basically what will our ACoS look like if the next click will lead to a purchase. This is especially necessary and helps when we have a low volume of clicks. Our cost per click and what our target ACoS has been configured. Below that, we can see historical graphs which can go ahead and present our impressions, our bids. We can add matrix. So we can add also sales, and we can add clicks, and we can add multiple variants that we can go then and we can look at them over time. This is something that we can look at for 30, 60, or 90 days, historical data, specifically for this keyword. And this is an area which we worked very hard around, is some education and explanation about what's happening. So we can see there's an explanation. Your bid is generating impressions, clicks, and sales. Shoppers are clicking it and purchasing it at as a reasonable rate. This might suggest the item is relevant to that and your term is considered competitive. Here, there is a recommendation of an adjustment. Why is there an adjustment? Because we have set a certain target ACoS and we are now above our target ACoS. So there is a slight adjustment which we can now click on, and there's a recommendation. And once we click on the adjust, this is going to happen directly in Seller Central. So obviously everything here occurs, and any change that we do or anything that we perform through the system is going to happen directly in Seller Central. Okay, so this is basically, if we go back to the overview, we can look at all the keywords, and each section leads us to the relevant area and recommendations area, which we can see, and we can take the necessary actions. What I would just mention is that the solution in general looks at the different segments based on the type of recommendations, and I will explain. So when we talk about keywords, exact keywords are keywords that we can modify their bids very easily and adjust their bids. Search terms, on the other hand, is another section where these are all search terms that are in broad phrase and auto campaigns. And in those cases, the recommendations are that anything that has a level of engagement, we should move it to exact. The methodology behind the solution is the funnel methodology, where you have search terms, and whenever there is a certain level of engagement, the recommendation is to actually move them to exact. So for example, let's look at a search term above our target ACoS. We can see here there are 33. We can click and we can view them. We can look at the performance over time, and there is a recommendation. In this case, we can see there is a search term, weightlifting knee braces for men, and it's within a broad keyword. Okay, the keyword is knee braces for weightlifting. We can also click on it and see all the other search terms that are related to this broad keyword. And in this case, the recommendation is different. There's a different explanation, there's a different possible cause, and a recommendation. And here, it's actually going to suggest to move it to exact and to manage it in an exact state, because we do not want to recommend on bid changes on broad phrase or auto campaigns. All recommendations, all bid recommendations should be done in their exact state. So we can easily come in here, we can select our target ad group. Once we do that, there's going to be an Amazon suggested bid. We can set a certain bid here, and we can either receive the default recommendation or we can set whatever bid we want, and we can hit on move, and that's it. And basically we've updated. One thing that we noticed, that anything that we perform through the system is automatically logged. So we can see we've just handled this. So the row itself is now grayed out. It's snoozed for 7 days, meaning that it will not appear for the next 7 days as a recommendation in the solution. Okay, if we want to look at all the items and all the actions that we've created, we have a change tracker, which the solution monitors all of the activities that we performed, and we can then look at the outcome of the actions that we've taken. Okay, so through the overview, basically, we can come in and we can see what are the different things and what do we need to focus on. Should we focus now on keywords above our target ACoS? Should we look at search terms without sales? In this case, we can see there are 134 search terms generating a loss of nearly $800. And the same goes for our targeted ASINs. every time we log in, we can see how much of them are being handled and where the budget is being allocated to. So we have the different ad spend based on the different conditions. We can either use the overview, or again, we can navigate directly through the left navigation and look at the different recommendation areas. So instead of clicking here on keywords without sales, I can click on the left hand on exact keywords, and here I see without sales, above target ACoS, below target ACoS, and we also have custom. So we also have a custom view, and let me just emphasize and show you what that custom view means, and we can go through it. So when we look at custom scenarios, we know that there are times where we want to go ahead and we want to create certain scenarios such as low, high impressions, low CTR. Okay, so let's say that I want to look at 5,000 impressions minimum, and where the CTR is not higher than 0.5%. Okay, and I can go ahead and save it. And this basically scenario is going to be now saved for any future reference. And I can see here, okay, here I have a lot of impressions, a lot of clicks, but the CTR is low. So you can basically create a lot of different scenarios, high converting items with low CTR, high click-through rate, low converting, and you can create different scenarios outside of the system's different scenarios in order to go ahead and create this kind of analysis. Everything that's here has help. So anywhere you go along the solution, you have a page help. In the page help, there are guides, both video tutorial guides and textual tutorial guides for each functionality and each feature that can be used in the solution itself. So this is something that's very helpful. These are 2-minute videos, 1 to 2-minute videos, and textual guides that can be opened up, and they are relevant for each and every page. So the idea is that we can come in here and we can do the necessary adjustments and optimizations. As I mentioned, we can go and perform things in bulk. So we can do bulk bid adjustment. And once we do bulk bid adjustment, we can see that we're going to see all the different recommendations. Bid recommendations, we can highlight the ones that we want to go ahead and accept. And we can highlight these and we can hit on apply. And once we hit on apply, these have all been done in bulk. Okay, again, as we can see, they've been snoozed. Everything, as I mentioned, is being monitored. So whenever activity or action we take, there are going to be notes that are going to be added, and we can see exactly the dates and times and the actions that we went ahead and performed. Great. So again, exact keywords, active search terms, and we can go over everything. And there are, for each case, there are information that we go ahead and feed, an explanation, a possible cause recommendation, and click-through action. I will also emphasize that you don't need to accept the recommendations. So one of the things that we do is on the left is always our popular recommendation of what we think we should be done, but you can have different activities as well. So if you don't like our recommendation and you want to take a different action, you can add something to negative. You can adjust the bid and not necessarily take our recommendations. So we don't limit the user to our recommendations, but we allow them a broad spectrum of things. In addition, if I looked at something and I can decide, okay, it's interesting, but there's no action that I want to take at this moment, what we have is we have a snooze. I can decide, okay, let's put a reminder for 7 days. There's nothing that I want to look at right now. So in 7 days, this is going to reappear in the solution. And next time that I log in, it's no longer going to appear. The idea is to save time and not have to spend a lot of time and recurring time on certain areas and activities. So these are all the recommendation sections and actions that we take. And now we have a whole area that supports the entire process. Okay. When we talk about supporting the process, then we have an area where we can look at our bid changes and how they have impacted the impressions. So for example, what we're seeing here a list of keywords that had a certain behavior, a number of impressions and sales, and a change that we have performed has caused these to drop dramatically. So here's an example. We had a certain exact keyword, the bid has changed, and we basically lost all of our impressions. Now, sometimes this is something that we have performed intentionally. but we want to make sure that we don't go ahead and generate these by mistake, basically. So we have a list of all the cases based on the number of impressions in previous sales that have basically an action that we've taken has caused them to lose either a lot of their impressions or sales. So we can track and monitor these, and if we've performed something by mistake or unintentionally, we can clearly see them here and we can take the necessary action to fix these. Something that a lot of our users have spoken about, and this I know is an issue that a lot of sellers have when they manage their PPCs, is duplicates, okay? At the end of the day, we create campaigns, we create ad groups and keywords and all sorts of things. And there are certain cases where we start generating duplicates without our knowledge. Duplicates is something that we can spend a lot of time on. Usually we don't want to have duplicates for several reasons. One is not to create bid conflicts, and the other is that it just creates overhead because we need to now optimize. In this case, for example, 4 cases where we can see, we can click on it, the same search term, okay, CrossFit knee sleeves for women appears in 4 different cases, okay, different ad groups, different keywords, and with different bids, and has also different performance. So through the manage duplicates, we can highlight, we can identify these, and we can take specific actions in order to go ahead and decide whether there's something that we want to eliminate or what we want to keep. And this is can be done through the manage duplicates, basically. So we can see here the amount of duplicates, the total impressions and clicks, what the click-through rate range is, and additional information, and click on it and see a breakdown and take the necessary action. Campaign strategy talks about our bidding strategies. So we can basically optimize based on placement and decide and see the entire analysis of each of our campaigns. And we can select which campaign we want to go ahead and optimize and how it's performing, basically. So we can go ahead now and filter by campaign or view our entire performance by its placements and see exactly the detail where it's on one product, detailed product pages, other on Amazon, remarketing off Amazon, and we can see here a breakdown of all our performance and very easily go ahead and modify whether our strategy type and our bidding strategy, basically, whether we want to increase our bids in order to get top placements and product pages as well. So this is something that a lot of our sellers are using as well. This is not necessarily something that you use on a daily basis, but you perform this analysis on certain intervals in order to do the necessary adjustments and optimization. As I mentioned earlier, everything that is performed, we have the system tracks and monitors. So we can come into our chain tracker and say, show me all our keyword bid changes. And immediately we can pull them up and we can see, for example, bid changes that we performed historically, how well have they performed and what has been the outcome and the impact of these changes as well. So everything that we perform, we can then track and we can see what has been the performance over time. The Snoozed menu, this is all the cases where we created some sort of action or a manual snooze, they will go ahead and appear here. So we're not losing any information. Any action that we take will also appear in the change tracker, but all the snooze where we saw something and we said, remind me in 7 days or 14 days, and if we want to go back to them, we'll be able to come back into the Snoozed menu and see all of these. And again, we can click on them and we can see their additional information and clear the snooze from here directly. So everything here has been built to be as intuitive as possible, save time. The idea is that you don't want to create a lot of analysis and you want to focus on what's important. And focusing on what's important is key, basically, to the majority of the sellers. So for example, if I see that my keywords without sales here are generating only $41 loss versus keywords above my target ACoS are related to $15 ad spend, I can clearly prioritize what I want to focus on and what are the areas that are going to have the main impact on my ACoS and my overall account performance, whether it's sales and profitability, okay? So this is basically what this allows us. It allows us to see exactly where we need to take action and what actions we basically need to take once we go ahead and we enter the different areas. I will also mention that here are the settings, and everything is very, very flexible. We can decide how many recommendations we want to see per segment, what are the minimum clicks that we want to see, what is the minimum loss, and all of these are different filters that we can go ahead and create, which those are the ones that we've basically seen here. Keywords below threshold, those are the thresholds that we're seeing, and we need to take action. Okay? There are additional features and functionalities that we can go ahead and we can discuss. Again, I think some of them are a little more advanced than others. We have a custom target ACoS, meaning that we can create an ACoS per campaign, per ad group, per keyword. Any recommendation section that we entered, we can decide whether we want to filter and analyze it by a campaign or by product ASIN. So there are sellers that they want to look at it from a product perspective and look and go and focus on their specific ASINs or specific campaigns. So this all allows us to go ahead and do that. Sellers with multiple campaigns, with multiple accounts, can easily see all their accounts in one area. So you don't have to log out and log in. You can basically walk through the different accounts very, very easy and very, very simply. Everything is searchable. If I want to search for something, I can easily search and I can find specific areas that I want to look at and focus on. And these are all different things that the solution supports. But as I mentioned, simplify, simplify, simplify. That is the key. And our clients that start using, from day one, they start seeing benefits. I mean, you know, from the first day that they start using the solution, watching a few video tutorials, that's it. They're ready to go. They're ready to start working and start basically improving their performance and optimizing their campaigns. I think that we can talk about the configuration, the listings. The idea is that in order to set the recommendations and the way the system works is the system tries to help you go ahead and achieve your target ACoS and basically go into that. So it's important that you know your target ACoS, and the most important thing is that you're realistic about your goals and your target. So for example, if you've just launched a product, well, you're not going to try to be on a low target ACoS for it, and you're not going to try to optimize it for a low target ACoS. So you need to put in something that's more realistic. It's very, very simple to do. All you need to do is you can come in here, you can hit on edit, you can see your product price, you can decide whether you're doing FBA, FBM, or small and light program. We provide already an estimated ACoS for you based on the last 30 days. So if you see here, let's say 60%, setting your target ACoS as 15 is just not realistic. Putting in your cost will also give you your break-even ACoS, and you can basically easily click on apply. Once this is set, all the recommendations in the system will be tuned towards achieving these numbers. Now, again, it's very, very important, and we have tutorials that help you explain and see how to set up your target ACoS and how to go ahead and set it up properly. And again, the emphasis is if you're during product launch, the ACoS we all know has to be fairly higher. If you're during growth or maturity, then you probably want to look at a different target ACoS. Again, it all depends on your strategy and your product lifecycle stage. Okay, if you're top of your category and you're doing advertising, then you know you want to drive and you want to maybe put it and focus towards a low ACoS, so your advertising is also going to be profitable. That's probably only the case if you're really, really the category leader. If you're not there, then a lot of our sellers go ahead and set it normally to their break-even ACoS. And if they're launching, then they set it to way higher. And based off of that, the solution is going to come in and recommend. We don't want to reach a point where we put in unrealistic target ACoS, because again, if we're having a certain performance and we try to go and take it down dramatically, then it's going to end up reducing bids and killing and losing impressions, and that's not our objective. So basically we have to put in something realistic, and we can fine tune it. So let's say we set up a target ACoS of 30%, we reach that target, we can then decide that we want to go ahead and continue to 25 or to 20%. But going from 60 to 10, Well, I think that most of the people that are going to watch this video are going to agree that it's just not realistic. So there's no magic here. At the end of the day, you have to take the decisions, and the solution will support your strategy. But you have to be correct about your strategy. If your strategy is incorrect, basically, then you have to go ahead and go ahead and evaluate it properly. So I think this provides, again, a good enough glimpse into the solution. I think that, you know, anybody that is going to watch this is going to have a good enough understanding. Obviously, there are not a lot of nuances that I don't think that they're just important enough to start discussing and talking about at this stage and going into the nutty bits and bolts. That's something that once our clients go ahead and signs up, so they receive from us, you know, whether they need certain levels of support. But we have video tutorials for everything, and as we've seen right now, things are pretty straightforward, and you don't have to be, you know, rocket science, and it doesn't take you days, weeks to learn to use the system. Within an hour, our clients were all good to go and started already seeing results and seeing improvement.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Could you give us an overview of the pricing?
So we'll do it as I mentioned, we're in the simple model. Simple model means one price, okay, that fits everybody. Okay, at this stage, we're looking at one price, or we're priced at $89 a month recurring, of one price, whether you have one ASIN, whether you have 20 ASINs, whether you're spending $1,000 in ad spend or $20,000 or $30,000 in ad spend. Our model is simple. I can't commit that it's going to stay this way forever, but for this time being, I can say that this is our model. We want to keep things as simple as possible, and even if we do offer several tiers, they're going to be very, very simple. And I know that sellers do not like when service providers go into their pocket and talk about how much ad spend they're generating. So that's something that we're trying to move away from and not take into consideration.
Okay, very nice pricing model. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
People will appreciate for sure. Could you reveal some of the features you're planning to release in the next months?
Right. So we're focusing on several areas. First of all, we're focusing on expanding to several additional marketplaces. As I said in the beginning, that's something that we're looking into. We're also right on the verge of implementing sponsored brands. So what we've all seen right now is sponsored products. Sponsored brands is something that we already have. It's pretty much, and it's in final stages. So that's something that we're going to also release fairly soon, which has been a request because we have a group of, you know, we have clients that are already doing sponsored brands that are more advanced, and they've asked for something to support that as well. So that's something that we're incorporating. And additional features, there are several additional features and functionalities that we're looking into, but I think that these are the main ones. Expanding right now, that's our focus, expanding to additional marketplaces and supporting sponsored brands. Those are the main things that we're gonna be looking into the near future.
And support, how do people get support, the existing and potential clients?
Right, so for new clients that sign up, we want to propose an offer for people that are going to come in here from this demo Mondays. We do an onboarding. We're offering an onboarding call, a personal onboarding call, and a consultation, which is valued at $250 for everybody that's going to sign up basically through the solution. Support is done by email. Response times are usually within 2 to 3 hours. We're very, very quick to respond. And if necessary, again, our current clients I'm sure they're going to vouch for me and say that we're very responsive, very intuitive. If we need to really jump on a call, we're going to jump on a call. We're not going to say no to anybody. But again, it has to be within obviously a reasonable requirement. But again, talking about the onboarding and the consultation, that usually covers a lot of questions and a lot of things around that, and support on an ongoing basis, email support, very, very fast to respond.
Great. Thanks a lot for introducing to RevenueWize.
Sure. Thanks for having me over. I mean, it's been quite an experience for me as well. So I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I've actually, every time I do these demos, I learn more things myself, kind of like in terms of how to go ahead and pitch and talk about the solution. So I hope I was clear. I hope things were clear. I hope people can connect and relate to it. And I look forward to, appearing more and, once the times are going to allow us, and participating in some of the conferences as well, and additional activities that you have that OrangeClick has to offer.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and good luck in your business. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Augustus.